So in my time in the real estate industry, I've seen a lot of different transactions from a lot of different angles. As an attorney, as a broker, as a founder of a mortgage lender. But the funny thing is, I didn't really understand a buyer's true negotiating power until I got to see things from a contractor's perspective. It's from this viewpoint that I got to see how the most sophisticated buyers systematically negotiate lower purchase prices. There's a science to what they do, and it goes well beyond what we see on so many of the popular real estate shows. Negotiating the best purchase price is not about telling the other side how many options you have or what's going on in the macroeconomic environment or how little the seller paid for the property. These are all obvious points. This information is available to everyone. What makes the biggest impact in a negotiation is introducing new information. Information that pushes a seller back on his heels and puts him on defense. In this video, I'm going to show you how to do exactly that. This may be one of the most valuable pieces of content we've created, as the step-by-step strategy I'm about to describe could potentially save you 10% or more on your next real estate purchase. And by the way, everything I'm about to show you won't cost a penny to execute. Now, first, you have to understand that negotiating a real estate purchase is both art and science. You watch Million Dollar Listing or Selling Sunset, and pretty much all you see is art. Bluster, swagger, people waiting to respond to an offer until the very last minute. There's a lot of drama, but it's more the science that moves the needle. And here's what I mean. You show a seller with scientific evidence why it is that their property is worth less than what they're asking, and they're left with a simple choice: capitulate or be forced to disclose the same facts that you uncovered to the next buyer and hope that that buyer doesn't ask for the same concessions that you're asking for, or possibly even more. Sounds easy enough, right? You may be thinking, why doesn't everybody do this? Well, there's a litany of reasons. First, to get quote unquote scientific evidence, it costs money and it takes time. Even though buyers may be plunking down well over $1 million to purchase a home in Orange County or Los Angeles, those same buyers are often reluctant to pay anything prior to opening escrow to produce the sort of scientific evidence they need, because that same information may end up worthless if they can't strike a deal. Similarly, brokers who are in the middle of these transactions don't want to go out of their way to acquire new information, with the potential that that information could make their transaction messier than it already is. And lastly, sellers have no motivation to perform any sort of study on their property beyond a general inspection for obvious reasons. For sellers, no bill of health is just as good as a clean bill of health. This is the status quo. Buyers don't want to pay, brokers don't want to slow things down, and sellers don't want to reveal anything they don't have to. But herein lies your opportunity. If you can break the status quo, you can literally cut your purchase price by as much as, say, 20%, maybe even more. I'm going to give you 3 simple steps to show you how this could happen. First, you can't accept the general inspection prepared by the seller. You need to ante up, hire your own soldiers to send into combat and get things done. Second, you need to go beyond the general inspection in 2 fundamental areas. You need your foundation and your roof reviewed in detail, and I'm going to explain why in just a moment. Third, you need to find a way to get the cost of properly evaluating your foundation and your roof covered by someone else, someone in the transaction who doesn't have a vested interest in the result. So let's dig into each one of these points. Why shouldn't you simply accept a seller's general inspection report? Saves you money, saves you time, might even put you in good standing with the seller if you just play along. But if that's your MO, you're just going to end up exposing yourself to a lot of risk. You don't know if the seller's agent has a long-standing relationship with the inspector. You don't know if the seller's agent has selected the inspector because the agent knows what type of things he reviews and what he doesn't. You don't know if the seller hired the inspector after hiring somebody else who produced a different report. You really need to control this part of the process. Okay, next, the general inspection is just not enough. if your own inspector gives your property a complete bill of health, there are two major areas that still need more attention: your foundation and your roof. Potential cracks in your foundation and uneven settling needs to be evaluated by an expert, not the generalist. And if your home sits on a raised foundation, you need to review it to determine if it's been retrofit by the California EBB program. These are huge issues. If you miss them, you could literally be setting yourself up for a six-figure bill post-closing. And your roof requires the same level of attention. A lot of home inspectors will sign off on a roof that looks fine on the surface when in fact the underlayment is rotting out underneath, or when there's deflection indicative of structural damage. Now, just for context, a tile reset on a typical home in Orange County, that's just to replace the rotted underlayment under the tile, can cost $30,000. This is without accounting for any tile being replaced. You don't want to close on your property and then find out you have to pay $30,000 or $40,000 for an issue that the seller was trying to sweep under the rug. So here's how you address these issues. First, you hire two separate specialty contractors to perform detailed inspections in each of these areas. These contractors will give you the guidance you need. They'll let you know what you need to address now, what you're going to have to address in the future, and what may be best to address kind of proactively. They'll give you a price list for all of these options, and it's this price list that will be your secret weapon. If you go to the sellers and tell them, hey, I found out there's a crack running through the center of your foundation, and it's going to get worse unless we install helical piles. Or, hey, I found the underlayment on your roof is rotted out along the eaves, and the plywood deck is going to deteriorate unless all of this gets fixed. All of a sudden, you're going to have a lot of leverage. Reason being, once you give the sellers this type of info, they're going to have to disclose it to any other buyer that comes along. So they may be better off just negotiating with you as opposed to moving on. And your contractor's price list, that secret weapon I mentioned, can serve as your backup for all the concessions you're seeking. I'm telling you, this strategy is so much more powerful than using the data found in a general inspection report to try to reduce your purchase price. With detailed specialty contractor inspections, you're introducing new information. And like I said earlier, pushing the seller back on his or her heels. You simply provide these reports, here's the problem, here's what's required to fix it, as confirmed by an expert, and here's the price. Either the seller gives you a concession, or they have to disclose this to the next buyer. So again, why doesn't everybody do this? Well, this brings me to my third and final point. Nobody wants to pay for proper inspections. It could cost anywhere from $500 to $2,500 each when a contractor knows they are performing these inspections as part of an escrow and the party requesting the reports doesn't own the property yet. Buyers typically view paying this kind of money for something that may not reveal any favorable data to be too risky. But this is where we come in. Once you get pre-qualified for a purchase mortgage with Glassbox, you'll have access to order specialty contractor inspections for your roof, your foundation, your HVAC system at no cost, nothing up front and nothing upon closing. Glassbox will empower you to take the risk that nobody else wants to take and give you the ammunition you need to negotiate a killer deal on your next purchase. So you'll never have to deal with that internal tug of war. Do I pay for this report, or is this just wasting money because everything seemed to look okay in the general inspection? You just order the reports every time, even if it's the third house on which you've entered escrow. You do it because it's on our dime and you have nothing to lose. All we ask is that you commit to using us as your lender whenever you find a home that you ultimately want to purchase. And this, of course, is after we've already gotten you pre-qualified and given you your projected interest rate and payment terms. With Glassbox, you'll get an extremely competitive interest rate, a fast closing, and all the tools to actually negotiate a lower purchase price on that next property. If you'd like to set up a personal consultation or go ahead and get pre-qualified, please check out the link below.